Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. On this week's Stamp School, we are going to do a technique called triple time stamping, and we are going to work with colored pencil. This video is sponsored in part by artneco.com. I'll be using stamps by artneco.com and also offering you an exclusive coupon code, 10% off. Just mention the Frugal Crafter when you place your order, or you get free shipping on an order over 50, whichever discount is greater. So we're going to be cutting our cardstock like this. You'll want a piece of kraft cardstock, cut it in half so that you have a piece for your card base, and you'll fold that and set that aside. And then you'll have two other pieces. One will be for a kind of stamp and coloring practice, and one will be for the real McCoy. You'll also want a couple different shades of layering paper. You really only need one, but sometimes it's nice to double or triple that stuff, and I'll show you how to do that. You can decide what you want to do on your own project, and we are going to begin by doing some stamping. I'll be using Derwent Coloursoft pencils. You can use whatever colored pencils you have, the regular kind, not the watercolor kind. I really like Prismacolor as well, but they do tend to be more breaky, so if you're thinking about investing in a set, the Colorsofts are very, very soft, very opaque, and they don't tend to break. The Spectrum Noirs are very good, but they're not as opaque. Same thing with the Polychromos. They're really expensive, but they are nice. However, if you like coloring on colored paper, you'll want to have an opaque pencil like a Coloursoft or a Prismacolor. I just hate for somebody to go buy a whole set of Prismacolors and have them get banged up when they're shipped to you and then have all the leads break. That's a bummer. And colored pencils are, you know, they're going to last you a long time. You get a lot of bang for your buck. So you want to make sure you select something that's going to work well for you. All right, so I'm just going to start building a scene here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. I'm going to start with my largest leaf stamp, and this is one of the fall stamps from artneco.com. I'll put a link in the video description. I want this one a couple of times. So I'm going to stamp there, and I'm going to turn it around and stamp it up like that. When you're doing an image with a bunch of different stamps, you want to get your biggest stamps in first, because it's just going to be, it's like filling a jar full of pebbles. You put your big rocks in, and the medium-sized pebbles, and the smaller pebbles in the sand, then the water, you know? I mean, it's just like how we fit things into our life, right, guys? We do the important things first, and then we fit in the smaller things around that. Okay, and maybe I'll put another one of these over here. I can always go back and maybe I'll put one more up here. And I'm turning my stamp as I go, so I get a nice random placement. Now I've got this other little leaf here. This set actually comes with some really adorable country fall images, like pumpkins and squirrels and a bag of leaves and a wagon that you could put pumpkins and the bag of leaves and different things in. So it's a really really sweet set that if you like to do scene building and you like kind of fall images, I think you'd really enjoy it. Okay, it also has some acorns, which are pretty cute. And what I did, I double mounted my stamps on my acrylic block so I could not have quite such a mess on my table as I'm working. I know it's hard to avoid the mess completely, but I'll try. Get that one there, and I think I'll take that other smaller acorn and try to attach it. Sometimes you can. I think that one, which one is, this one's a little bit bigger, I'm going to use this one. Kind of stamp it. So you know how they come off the oak tree? We have tons of oak trees, and then you always have the little acorns kind of attached together. Get the other little smaller one with that. I love acorns. There we go. Oh, that's so adorable. I love it. Love it. We'll put one in there in the middle. And maybe a couple down here. Now I'm going to be using some die cuts. You do not have to. You can use any sort of shape cutters or an X-Acto knife or whatever you have. But if you do have any nesting dies, it's going to be super easy with those. Okay, now what I'm going to do is look at my nesting dies here. Look at the biggest one I have and see how that is going to fill that scene up. And you can just have it square, but I think I kind of want to have it shaped. I just think that's kind of neat. I'm also going to draw. It doesn't matter what you draw it with, because you're going to be you're not going to see it. I'm just drawing around the outside so I don't waste any time coloring stuff that's going to be cut out. Whoop. Hopefully that little stray mark will be cut out. If not, I'm going to have to make sure I color over that really well with a pencil. That's another great thing about them being opaque. So I want to put a little something there. I can either do like part of a leaf. Why don't we do that? We'll do part of a leaf. There, just so we don't have any really blank areas. I'll do the same thing over here. And right here. Okay. And the reason why I don't cut it first is because it's a lot easier to stamp it and then cut out than it is to try to stamp on a cut shape. Okay, so then I just want to kind of select some colors that I think will look nice. And I want some golds and some browns and some greens, you know, so pick out the colors you think you want. And I'm just using a small set of pencils, a set of 24 plus a set of 12 fashion colors. That's what I have for the Coloursoft line. I don't have a ton of them, but I think that's going to be adequate. We want some reds and oranges. Ooh. Okay, I think that's going to be pretty good. And let's start with this one here, because that's going to be a fairly easy leaf to color. I'm going to start by giving it a base of this yellow ochre color. And I'm not coloring too firmly because I don't want to fill in the entire tooth. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of brown. And a little bit of darker green in here too. Build up my colors so they're nice and rich. Okay, now after that, I'm going to go over the whole thing with a nice bright yellow. And this time I am going to burnish, and this is going to help blend. You can get right out to the edges. You might need to sharpen your pencils as you go because these do have quite a bit of detail. Let's bring that up there. You can kind of see. If I want to deepen my colors, I can go back in with some of the dark. Something else you can do to kind of take away that waxiness is to blend with either baby oil or Gamsol. It just breaks up the wax and it helps the pigment mix together. It can make it a little more transparent, so just keep that in mind. So if you do that and you see, well, it's really lightened up my colors after it dries. I have a pretty thick application, so I don't think that's going to happen, but you can kind of keep that in mind. So there, see how much it stands right out from the background? I think it's really super. Okay, so now I'm going to do this maple leaf. I want to get lots of orange and reds in there, so I'm going in here with this orange color. And I am coloring pretty firmly because I do want that to be a pretty strong color. I don't want it to be blended in. Because like when you look at a maple leaf, they do have very strong patches of color. It's not as much of a blend or smooth transitions as you'd see on other leaves. You get very distinct splotches. And the set of 24 Coloursoft does not have a super bright red. You might want to grab a Prismacolor for that. And if you want a super budget brand of pencils that actually works pretty good, Prang is really good. It's a very inexpensive set. It's a children's grade, but it is excellent. It's a lot better than like a Crayola as far as quality, I find. You know, adding these patches of the more of like an evergreen color. And then I'm going to color over the whole thing with a nice bright yellow. And that's going to warm up any of the other colors. It's not going to stick too much to the red or alter the reds too much, but it will make them all go together. Oh yeah, and the stems are usually red on these. So are the veins. I don't know if I can get that to stick. I should have done that first. Whatever you put down first for layer is gonna show up the most usually. And so we've got that nice beautiful bright maple leaf that we can blend if we want to. A little Gamsol or baby oil. And this is a card, this is going to be layered, so I don't really have to worry if it leaks through to the back. If you are concerned with that, if you're doing a one layer card, then you don't have to blend it with this. It's still going to be pretty blendy. Look, it's still nice and bright and opaque. Okay, so for this leaf, I'm going to do browns. I'm going to start with, I'm going to go very lightly this time. I'm going to start with the center stem. Very, very little pressure. I'm just going out kind of from the bottom, fading it out. Then I'm going to go with this kind of yellow ochre color. Going to color over what I already did and fade it out more. Just bring it out a little bit closer to the edges. This is, well, this isn't an oak leaf, but I'm kind of coloring as if it was. Oh my gosh, I'm tongue-tied today. Stumbling over my words. I'm filming this on Monday. I'm about to go live with Melody Lane and hopefully Kathy from Ask a Crafter, and we're going to do a live Ask a Crafter. Well, of course, by the time this airs, it should already be on the channel, as long as nothing terrible happened. Okay, and there is that one. You could add a little more green if you want. Like I feel like that could use a little bit of a green tint to it, so let me just go over that with a little bit of green. I feel like it needs a little bit more. Well, I could do... Now, I know a lot of you guys have picked up colored pencils to do the those new coloring books that are out and so popular right now, and it's a great another use for them. Alright, for our acorns, you're going to want to put some brown in there, and then put some of the kind of yellow ochre golden color in there, and then blend them together with a lighter color. And then you'll want some darker colors on the caps. I like to go around the edges. And then do a lighter brown on the inside. And then you can add a little bit more shadow underneath with that darker brown again if you want. Another way to get rid of the wax bloom on these is to take a paper towel. I'll show you on this one. That'll take away the shininess. It'll take away the haziness, I mean. It will leave it a little bit shiny, but there you go. So I want you to finish coloring your image, and then we will make the triple time stamped card. Okay, now we are going to cut this, and so I'm putting this first die right over here, right on top of my my stamped image where I had kind of sketched it. I'm just kind of making sure that I'm within my sketched lines, and then I'm going to actually cut it again. Put that in there, and then I'm going to do it again. Now you could do whatever sizes you want in there. I'm using the magnetic plate, so if you don't have a magnetic plate, you'll want to use a couple pieces of tape just to kind of hold your dies together so they don't shift when they're going through the machine. Alright, cut that out. And I'm going to crank it back just to make sure it went through all of those. Sometimes in the middle of a die machine you won't get, it won't cut through all the way, so what I'm going to do is actually flip it like this and look through and see if it looks like, yeah, it looks like everything cut through nice and sharply. Alright, so I've got these, so that's my waste, that's what's going to be thrown away. And these are my 3 pieces that are going to be stacked up onto my card. So on my card I have, I'm just going to decide whether I want to use yellow for my matting on that. So that's what it looks like with yellow. I'm going to look at it with green. I think the green makes it pop a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing is using this layer for my background layer. And then I'm going to mat it with this. And then I'm going to be cutting my next pieces out of this. So you're probably thinking that it doesn't make a lot of sense yet, but it will. So now I don't have enough dies to be able to mat each of those. It doesn't, I don't have that many sizes. So what I'm going to do is actually put these on here. And I am going to make my own mats here. Now I think what I'm going to end up doing, I think I'm going to have to cut that separately. Basically what I need to do is make a mat for each of these. I think that I can probably get all 3 like this. But I can't cut them because if I cut them they'll be the exact same size like that. So what I need to do is actually trace this with a pencil so I have a template to cut out by hand. And I'm just doing this on the magnetic plate so that it doesn't move on me while I'm tracing it. Again, you could tape it. Oops. Actually, a better idea would be not to use my plates, just to put that on there so it really holds them down good. So I'm just tracing. That did not work out very well. I just moved it. Ah, shoot. Shoot. I'm going to move that right off like that. Move the die cutter right out of the way. So basically I need to make a few mats here. So I'm just going to line these back up now that I've got that on that. if I had a set of dies that had more shapes, like I have a circle set that has a lot of different shapes, I mean a lot of different increments, then it would be a lot easier. But since I don't, I'm going to make do with this, and I'm going to trace this with a marker so that I can see what my actual shapes I need to cut are so I don't get confused. This is the back side of the paper. Alright, so I'm tracing each of these frames. Are you confused yet? You won't be in a minute. There we go, and that one is, you know what, I'm going to slide that one right over. Oh my goodness, that just moved on me. Let's do a different color for that one. Let's use blue. Hopefully this marker is good. It's an older one. Sometimes with the smaller dies on a magnetic platform, they want to jump. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is take my paper, and I'm going to cut that out with an X-Acto knife because I don't want to have holes here. So I am just going to cut these out as good as I can. So actually, why don't I pause this while I cut these out, and we'll be back in a second and I'll show you how to put the card together. Okay, so despite the fact that my hand cutting skills need a little work, pining for the scan and cut, this is still going to be a pretty cool card. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just adhere my layers to my card base. And you don't have to double mat this here. It's just completely up to you. I didn't even stick that on very well, but I stuck it on very well. I didn't stick it on very straight is what I should say, but it sure is stuck down there good. So we're just gonna go with that. And we're gonna put this layer down there. And here's how this is gonna go. So I am going to adhere this down first. So you can see my lines here. So, whoops. I just dropped it on the floor. So you could see kind of my mark. Well, maybe you can't, but that's the side that I traced on. So that's going to be the back side, and I am going to just put this right there, centered up in the middle, and then I am going to glue down my largest panel. All right, just like that. Now I'm going to glue down this middle panel. Now if you do make a mistake when you're cutting this and you don't have enough room, you can always, adhere each of those pieces you first cut down onto another piece of cardstock and then just trace around it or cut around it by eye, whatever is easier for you. And this one's going to go down there on top. See how that works? This probably isn't the most perfect die for this use, but I thought it was kind of fun and unique, and that's why I wanted to try it, because you don't, that's how you learn how to make cards. You try things. Not every example is going to be the same. Sometimes things work out just the way you wanted, and sometimes they don't, and that is totally fine. Okay, and we'll add that on there. I think I want to add some pretty ribbon, so let me go grab some of that. And I think to finish up this card, I'm going to put this little velvet die cut leaf ribbon there. Did you notice I had to actually lift that up and flip it around because I had that stuck on the wrong way? You want each of your stamped images to kind of go across, so you just want to make sure that if you have something started here, that it's gonna finish across like that. I might add a little brad or maybe this little sequin. I'm not sure exactly, but just kind of go light on your embellishments, because really the focal point is your stamped and colored piece, and you really want that to shine. And I want to show you how pretty and opaque those colored pencils look on craft paper. I hope you try coloring with colored pencils on colored paper. It certainly looks fantastic. And I'm just going to adhere this down with some fabric glue when I am all done here. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Please check out our sponsor, artneco.com. That's where you can find all of these stamps along with some really great other fall themed ones. And of course, the Asian stamps here, so popular and known for. You can check them out online at www.artneco.com. Check out the video description for links to the products I used and also a money-saving coupon code. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, happy crafting.